Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. So, this is going to sound profound, but it's really not terribly. So I was going to say this is about emptiness. So, and it is about emptiness. So at lunch today, in the normal course of everyday affairs, and I work from home, but so I had stopped to do lunch and was, wasn't doing anything complicated, but was prepping it, and I had a very distinct sense of emptiness, of kind of having an empty life. But it wasn't a despairing sort of thing, and it was just a very distinct. It was a distinct emptiness. It was that a feeling of emptiness, and without much being attached to that feeling of emptiness in the way of emotion. But I thought, if I'm feeling emptiness, I should probably, because I do live a pretty isolated life, because I do work from home, and I live in an area where not very many people are, share the same values as I have, etc. So now if I'm feeling emptiness, I shouldn't wait until it becomes despair. I should probably explore it and see if the cards can shed any light on whether it's something that I need to amend in any way. And so that the question comes up, do I need to amend it? Is it an okay sort of emptiness? Because we do go, it's like fallow periods or whatever, you just, sometimes you feel empty and it might be uncomfortable, but it's not a bad thing, and it passes. Or it might be cueing you to return to something. And I think that's what is being indicated by the cards that came up. So the question I asked myself, or asked the cards, was, what am I missing that creates a sense of emptiness? What is not there that is creating a sense of emptiness? And so it was interesting. I think these are interesting cards for that question. First of all, there was this was a popper. And so to me, this could certainly mean, there's not a sense of, yes and no. There's not a sense of ambitions. There's not a sense of something fantastic on the horizon, not that sort of thing. And yet, I don't lack for choices within my own home. I've got tons of books. I've got a bunch of coloring books. I've got tons of collage material. I've got tons of tarot decks. I've got too many animals, So I do have those things. So what I was thinking when this card came up primarily was imagination. That is something that has been missing. And I don't consider this, it might be using our imaginative faculties when we work with cards, but I see the intuition as something different. And I do tend to be a pretty analytical type of reader. So I'm thinking more like fantasy, getting into a good novel, and I kind of was having an inkling about that. I don't know if it was earlier this week or at the end of last week. It's like, I might need, and it's a little problematic because that's the sort of thing as the light gets shorter, that you would lean toward. But here, even though the daylight is getting shorter, it's still blazing hot. So there isn't that, that's supposed to break in the coming week. thank God. But there isn't that coziness that would come with, like snuggling in with a long novel or something. But that's what I feel like this is saying. It's time to revert to fiction. I read a lot of poetry and some stuff about tarot and, more factual nonfiction sorts of books. But I do have lots of fiction that I could pull off, or plenty of fiction at any rate, that I could pull off the shelf and finally dive into. And one fairly recently, like about a month or so ago, somebody recommended a series of novels that she was getting into, and I bought the first one of them. And I went into it a little bit and then decided that it wasn't a good time for me to get into a novel, because when I get into a novel, it can keep me up late at night and stuff like that. And I wasn't needing that then, but I've kind of recovered from August, the workload in August, and I'm not sleeping well anyway. So what the hell? What difference does it make whether I'm missing sleep because I'm reading a novel or missing sleep just because my body doesn't want me to sleep? So that made some sense to me. This set of cards was more challenging. With the moon card, I was questioning the phase of the moon. I thought that I had seen a sliver moon recently. And so I thought, well, is it the dark of the moon? I'm not usually that sensitive. I can't usually gauge like what phase the moon is in by how I feel. But I was wondering, because the moon card came up, I just thought, gosh, I wonder if it's, the black of the moon, and that's why I'm feeling this way. But we're fairly well along now towards waxing, so I would say that was not, that's not an accurate way to read this. This can also be a card of imagination. Gosh, I lost what the other thing was that I was seeing in the moon. Mystery. A sense of mystery. I was about to say, maybe my life is too regimented. But in a way, I can't say that. I don't think my life is too regimented, because I actually, at this point in my life, need that regimentation, that kind of being a little habit-bound. Now, as the Conver deck was glaringly indicating, it could be I need to change the focus of how I spend my time. Since I do have too many dogs, I could take the dogs literally here. But I'm not missing dogs. I've got an overabundance of dogs. And the question again is, what am I missing that creates a sense of emptiness? And I am inclined to say mystery, a sense of mystery. One thing about the moon with these two canines howling at it is that it draws attention. There's an inexplicable attraction to it. And there's just not too much in my life that's like that. It's like when I was younger, new places, the idea of visiting and seeing new places would have that kind of a draw, or maybe living in new places, or trying new things. So all of that kind of, that's my Gemini ascendant, loving, that new experience or doing something new. And so maybe this is a cue that that I have lost that. This is true. What am I missing? I have lost that. And like I said about the regimentation, I don't want that. I don't think that at this point in my life and my healing and all of that kind of stuff, I think that even for my emotional stability, it's not good for me to get out of the habits, because then I can become disoriented. That's disturbing, and I don't need that. I've actually done a good, when I think about it, Cancerian job of gathering things around me that I enjoy. So I was just thinking, it could be something to do with going out at night, somehow limiting myself. But I haven't. I'm a night person, but I'm not a go out at night person. I'm a hunker down and do my own thing at night person. And often, when I used to do writing, like fiction type writing, like when I was a teenager, that's when I would want to do it, would be at night. I would sit down and it would get, when it's quiet, nobody's disturbing you, and the world outside is also quiet. To me, used to be a time when my imagination was particularly fertile and willing to provide ideas and stuff. So those two, I can make some sense of. This was kind of difficult. It's like the King of Swords, boundaries, what? And then I turned also to the Tarot of Transformation and asked the same question, and one of the cards that came out was this, the Hanged Man. And I'm going to look at these in the guidebook here in a second, but it says not in control. And I think that is part of the emptiness, and I kind of started to get an inkling of that before I pulled these cards. Kind of like what I'm missing that makes me feel empty is that I don't have to be so on guard. And what that means for me is not physically on guard or feeling like I need to guard my boundaries, but actually financially on guard. So over the many years having Lyme disease, only being able to work part-time and really not being able to make ends meet, and I was always, and I'm just no good at this, but I was always thinking about how can I make money independently, apart from somebody giving me a job that's 9 to 5 that requires something of my body that my body can't give. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? So there was that kind of feeling that I needed to gain control of my life again. I needed to gain control of my life again. And I have to admit that when I was at lunch and I was just making my lunch and it was quiet, my dogs have been good today, that there's all this, it was very, it was empty. It didn't feel necessarily like peace, like the kind of peace, but it was an empty. And so I think that is part of the emptiness. So I do think I've come to the conclusion with the cards that have come up that it in fact is a positive form of empty. It's the kind of empty that it's good to sit with, maybe for a month. And just, maybe it's just a period for, it says, what am I missing? I'm missing this, but this was dysfunctional. It could be that I'm missing this, like idea generation, some dysfunctional idea generation that would go on that was like, how do I make money? How do I make money? How do I bring in money? How do I, you know, that also is something that is missed, but it's healthy to miss it. It needs to go. You know, if it's not appropriate for this time in my life, I need to let it go. Just let it go. And this was, and still remains curious to me, actually, the Three of Swords. I don't think of myself as being addicted to heartbreak or emotional dramas or anything of that nature. But it could be kind of like the King of Swords. You know, I've had, it would be more like a Four of Swords or Four of Cups experience, disappointment in romantic endeavors. And so maybe, again, that emptiness, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. Like I said, I did this reading because it was like, well, I better look into that and see if it's something that I need to be concerned about. And if I had gotten things like the Ace of Cups or the Two of Cups or the Three of Cups, if I'd have gotten those kinds of things in this, what am I missing that creates a sense of emptiness, then I would have been worried, because to me that indicates, those things would indicate that I was missing some form of emotional attachment that I needed to be healthy. This to me seems to, in large measure, especially with these two cards, to be indicating things that are now absent and are leaving a blank. But they need to be absent. I need to let them go, and I need to let that blank fill itself however it fills itself. Hopefully with positive activities, hopefully this, letting go of some of the idea generation and feeling like I need to get control of things, and, some heaviness that is around disappointment in relationships, that as that exits and creates some emptiness, that, I can just sit and wait and see what fills it, or I can actively say, all right, well then, maybe it is time to get back to the collage. Maybe it's time to brush my dogs more. Maybe it's, there's, read fiction, play with some other things that I have around me. So let's take a look at what did come up for this. There's the Ace of Discs, birth into form, and that made a lot of sense to me. I don't have any new projects, and sometimes new projects can enliven me. Again, sometimes in a negative way. It over-occupies my mind, and I create all of these elaborate structures around how things are going to work and that kind of stuff. And so this is missing. Is it bad that it's missing? Not necessarily. I don't think so. I think that's okay. There are some things ideas that I'd had that I have let slide, let just kind of fade into the background. And when this card came up, I thought, no, I really don't care to. I think sitting with the emptiness is okay. I don't think I need to bring any of those ideas back. I think they died kind of a natural death. Then the moon card again. And this is called Peace in the Darkness, is what this is, the title. And to me, this is not what I'm missing. I'm being called to be empty. I'm being called to be empty and let whatever's going to come and land in my heart chakra come and land in my heart chakra. To let the emptiness be. And there's the eggs down there or something. A little, kind of an odd place for nesting, but there it is. Some of this could be calling this emptiness like this, and this could also, to me, indicate a need to do more journey work, shamanic journeying sorts of things. The Seven of Cups, I think on the bottom of this deck, when I pulled this, I think was the Seven of Pentacles, which could also indicate to me chakra work. I have signed up for a Reiki 1 class. It will happen in November. So I don't know. I'm having this card was nice because the keywords kind of cued me about the likely meaning of this, that I was in control, or my attempts to be in control, the feeling that I needed to be in control. But again, to me, this is more a representation of what is happening in the emptiness. Even though it doesn't feel out of control, that's what I was testing. That's why I did this spread, to make sure that it wasn't something out of control. It feels, from the results of this, and we'll see, I'll gauge it as it goes, that maybe it's more a natural process of certain things falling away that maybe I didn't realize needed to fall away. We get into, there are physical habits. There are also mental and emotional habits. And I think that idea generation, in an attempt to solve the problems of my situation, to solve the problems of my health, and that certainly still continues, but to also solve the problem of my financial situation that results from my health. That it's been about a year now, almost a year, that I've had full-time work, a full-time income. And I don't know absolutely that I'll be able to continue it, but I think that it has taken that long for me to let go of some of those mental, emotional habits. And, this, although we think of it as heartbreak resulting from relationship issues or relationship trauma, this could also represent, for me, certainly, the grief, etc., from having the Lyme disease and all of the impacts that has had on my life. You'd have to have more than 3 swords for that to properly represent the impact that it's had on my life. But certainly it does attack your heart. Literally, in my case, actually, to some extent, but also, emotionally, it's a difficult thing to go through. I am currently actually mentoring for an organization called the Global Lyme. It's a Global Lyme Alliance, GLA, I can't remember what, anyway. And they've set up a mentoring program where you mentor you volunteer to mentor other people who are going through the process. And so I am mentoring. And that's part of, this was part of the reason I even wanted to be a mentor. Obviously I can't give medical advice, but it's like you go through some emotional adjustments for sure, continuously. So I'm looking at the Hanged Man. It says, you may have heard it said that we either let go voluntarily or we get the cosmic 2x4. Well, I don't feel like I've gotten the cosmic 2x4, but I think that emptiness is that letting go. It says, modern Western culture is built on the masculine values of directing, initiating, making things happen. And again, this is what I'm missing, is the sense that I have to do that anymore, that I have to push and make things happen anymore, that I can settle. Now I can settle and let go of that. Let me see if there's anything else in here. It does say this, which kind of goes along with this card also. It says the Hangman also represents a period of trial, which is often part of an initiation into a new way of perceiving or being. So, I don't know about initiation. that was not the purpose it served, but again, that's back to what I was saying with the King of Swords. That was my reaction, that attempt to get control of the situation again, was the trial. That was my reaction to the trial. And that now is starting to be missing. It's not entirely missing. It's really only the financial aspect of it that is missing. I still have to pay a lot of attention to my body. And I don't think I need to explore that any further. I mean, I can read it on my own, but I think I'm getting it more or less from my own perspective. So there it is. The reading for what am I missing that creates a sense of emptiness. And again, for me, it was very distinctive. It wasn't loneliness. It was emptiness. It was like things being empty. Which made me go, oh, what? There's an emptiness here. And the emptiness did have, I think the thing that cued me to check on it was that the emptiness did come with a sense of hollowness as well, like an interior hollowness. It wasn't just exterior emptiness. There was a feeling of hollowness, an interior hollowness, that something was gone. And so I can see that maybe some of the things that are gone are things that needed to be gone. And I just need to let it sit like an abscess, like an abscess. Suddenly that's gone. There's a hollow spot there that needs to heal. And you know, the perception of the hollow spot, it can be worrisome if you've had an abscess, a large abscess, and it bursts and it leaves sort of a hole there, and you're worried about that hole, that hollowness that shouldn't be there. But it's the beginning of healing and being healthier. So that's the way I'm going to see it for now. And again, if it seems to be converting into something else, then I'll do another reading, or I'll take some form of action if it feels bad. If it just feels like emptiness, I'm not going to worry too much. If it starts to feel like depression, or let's see, woefulness, you know, devaluing, when it goes into those areas, then I start to be alarmed. But usually I don't feel emptiness. I might feel depression or a loss of value of myself. Again, it's thankfully quite rare. And that sort of thing is kind of an instant. Oh dear. All right, pay attention. This was more just, there's nothing there. Nothing there. There's no depression. No, there's just nothing there. So very, very interesting, because I don't usually feel that either. All right, everybody. Rambling now, and I'm just going to let you go. Take care. Bye-bye.